Hello and welcome to another tutorial in the Universe Train series. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create this cool scene with this awesome moon. I'll repeat and emphasize that this moon is actually totally created in Cinema 4D without any external images. So you don't have to worry about getting Flickr or Google or any Creative Commons. You're gonna create the whole material inside Cinema 4D. And of course, for right now you probably know how to create this cool lens, but we'll also reinforce some cool camera movements and some cool lighting options like those. So let's get started. It's a very simple scene and I'll just click on File, New to create a new project. Okay, so now the first thing you want to do is to create your moon. And to do that, you'll click on the primitives and select sphere. And you can double click and entitle this moon. So now you can click on it and just scale it up by just dragging this orange dot. So you'll make something like this or bigger and just position so you can see it, most of it. And now what I want to do is click on a light and illuminate a good part of it. Like, let's say 30% of the moon we want to illuminate. And now that we actually have the moon and the light, we want to create the material for the moon, which is gonna be the focus of our tutorial. So we'll double click on the material and the material editor will pop up. So now we have several options here. And what you want to do is click on color and we'll set it to really light blue like this. And depending on what you want, you can make it a little bit darker. So you should have something like this as a color. Okay, now things are starting to change. We'll go to diffusion and check it. And now we'll go to texture and select something on, go to texture and select noise. And I'll just close it and apply to our moon and see what happens. So depending on what type of planet you want to create, that would fit, but no way that will fit on the moon. So what you want to do is click on this bar saying noise, and once you do, you have several options. So I'll just increase this panel so I can see it better. And I'll just leave it as black and white, although you can make it a little bit grayer if you want. And then the noise settings, you have lots of options. And you can go to some of them and test. So for instance, you just click on Apple R again and it automatically renders. So you can say this is more like a foggy thing, but we'll keep trying because that is not really what we want. We want something that looks like the moon's surface. That's another very cool example. So you can find excellent, absolutely excellent types of material in noise. But I'll just save some time and tell you the secret. Luca is the one that looks a little bit like the moon. And as you can see, you have something alright here, but different from what I showed you previously. And we'll take a look at that right now. You can change the octaves of your thing. You can change the octaves of the noise to make it a little bit more bumpy. And there are several options here, but that's more for the animation if you would like to animate the type. We'll just leave it like that since it's a planet. And now you want to come to bump. And bump is what's gonna give the moon effect. We'll go to texture and noise. And you click on this noise parameter again. And you see it's pretty bumpy right now, but it's set to default mode. What you want to do is come to noise and set to Luca again. So now it not only has the texture of Luca, but it will be bumpy with Luca as a map. So now if you render, you'll see that you can see it way more and with lots of highlights and very bumpy stuff. And that's the moon you actually want to, that's how you actually want the moon to look like. Okay, so we got the moon material, which is very good, but we have to worry about other things. So what I want to do now is to create a camera. And I'll just go to camera, scene, cameras, camera. So I can now move the camera. And I could try to rotate it to get a cool angle, but what I'll do is I'll go to the top view and just on this arrow icon here, just move it so I can see it really well. Then I'll click on the camera and select the rotation tool. And then I can rotate, having a lot of good perspective. And on this blue axis here, you can just rotate it holding shift to orbit around. So you can make a cool animation rotating, but that's not exactly what we're gonna do in this tutorial. Once you get what you want, you can then come to the normal setting again, and with the orange dots you can just bring the camera closer. And it's now rotating crazily because of the rotation tool I have. You can also click on the move tool and just move it. So let's render to see how it looks. Alright, we can see it looks very bright and very nice, lots of bumpiness here. So I'll just bring it closer and we'll start actually worrying about lights now. I'll once more go to the top view and I'll just position the light so I can actually see less of the moon. And now you can see there are actually some dark parts here, which is good. So now I actually bring the camera a little bit up and we'll create the other planet in the background. So I'll create a sphere and then go to the top panel and place it somewhere so I can actually see it. And now I can just move this down. So I can actually see it. And you might want to scale it down a little bit too. And rotate it so it has a nice orientation towards the camera. And you can actually create duplicate by clicking on Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V and making the other one a little bit smaller, and then duplicate and make it even smaller. So we're actually building a scene here with lots of planets, as you can see. And the cool thing is, because the light's more like in the center here, it only illuminates a part of each planet. What's good. So now let's create the textures for them. And I'll actually do something different from what I did previously. I'll just Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V in the material, and I'll rename this planet. So now I can change the planet material, and I'll just, for instance, add the different colors and then add into the planets. So now I have both the planet, the moon here, and the planet here with the same material, but they don't look the same. And I can also change, of course, the type of diffusion from liquid to gaseous, for instance. And then I can just actually uncheck the bumpiness. So now I have another texture for the planet here. And you can do the same thing for the other ones. I'll just leave them the same color. Last thing, we'll create another light. Go to the top view and just make sure they're in a very nice place. Like here, for instance. And then we'll go to lens, sun number 1. So now we'll render. And you'll see we have a really nice sun, 2 planets, unfortunately one of them was eaten by the sun, and a nice moon, a very nice bumpy moon. Okay, so that was how you could create a cool moon for your universe. I'll see you in the next tutorial on the universe series.